Hi students, good morning. How are you? I hope you are good. Students, today our topic is the world between wars 1900 to 1950 part 2. It is a 10th class 14th lesson in social studies. Students, already we learnt about the world between wars 1900 to 1950 part 1. In the previous lesson, we discussed about the age of extremes, World War, ominous facts, death and destruction, power blacks, causes of the two world wars compared. Next, the League of Nations, the Treaty of Versailles, the fear of socialism and USSR. Next, new international organization. Today our topic is the world between wars part 2. We will discuss about in this lesson some important things. Russia was a vast land spread over two continents. Some part in Europe continent, some part in Asia continent. That's why it called Eurasian powers. Russia had the third largest population in the world, 156 million after China and India. It comprised of several nations like the Russia, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenia, etc. Here, Tsar Nicholas II ruled over his vast Russian empire like autocratic with the help of the army and bureaucracy. Bureaucracy means non-elected official government employers. Feudals means landlords. Here, who own hundreds of acres of land, those were called feudals or landlords. Here, in the Russian Empire, the livelihood of most Russians was derived from agriculture and control over land was the basic cause for struggle between peasants and feudal lords. The feudal lords owned most of the lands and most peasants paid rent for the land they tilled. Tsar Nicholas II ruled over his vast Russian empire like any autocratic with the help of the army and bureaucracy. But the Russian economy was bled in the extreme by the World War. The Russian army was the largest in the world before World War I. Yet by 1917, the Russia had lost 2 million soldiers and civilians and became the biggest losser of human lives in World War I. The diversion of food to the war front led to shortages in the cities. On March 8, 1917, around 10,000 women of the capital, St. Petersburg, took out a procession demanding peace and bread. Workers joined them in this protest. Unnerved at the protest in the capital, Tsar Nicholas II ordered the army to suppress the demonstrators even by fighting at them. Instead, the soldiers joined the demonstrators. In just 2 days, the situation went so much out of hand that the Tsar evicted and non-aristocratic Russians made a provisional government. This is a temporary government. This was the first Russian Revolution of 1917 and it was called the March Revolution. A bigger revolution was made later in October 1917 and it was not spontaneous. The liberals and aristocrats who ruled Russia after the abdication of the Tsar decided to continue the war to preserve the honor of the fatherland. Students, let us see another revolution, that is October 1917 revolution. What is October 1917 revolution? Whenever Tsar was left, liberals and aristocrats ruled Russia and they set up professional government. These liberals and aristocrats who set up the professional government are wanted to send the soldiers again in World War I. You know that Russia already come back to the World War, but professional government wanted to send again to these soldiers into the World War. So this was opposed by most of the Russian people. Here people means most of the women, peasants, workers and soldiers, all these were form a councils. These councils are also called Soviets. Students, we see the date of the Russian Revolution. Russia followed the Julian calendar until 1st February 1918. The country then changed to the Gregorian calendar, which is followed everywhere today. The Gregorian dates are 13 days ahead of the Julian dates. So, by our calendar, the February Revolution took place on 12th March and the October Revolution took place on 7th November. October 17 revolution led by Vladimir Lenin. Lenin was leader of Bolshevik party. Lenin came to Russia. He was promised the people. Lenin promises are three. First one is land redistribution. Those who do not have land, Lenin says, those who do not have land, I will redistribute the land to them. Second one is nationalization of banks and industries. Third one is immediate and unconditional peace. Here Lenin says that I does not want war. I will give immediate and unconditional peace. Peoples also wanted that. These promises was attracted to the people. People like his promises them. Soviet supported to the Lenin. Finally, Bolshevik party became Russian Communist Party. Lenin took the Russia under the control. Provisional government was dissolved. After the dissolved, Lenin became leader. Here, Lenin gave to the poor. Nationalization also done. Unconditional peace not completed. Because of why? Because of some of the countries attacking the Russia. Some of the countries are attacking on Russia. That countries are Britain, France, USA, Japan. These countries are anti-communist countries. Russia was a communist country. Britain, France, USA, Japan are anti-communist countries. So they attacked on Russia. These countries were feared about Russian Revolution. They thought that like Russian people, if their people start revolt against their government, it may be very difficult to the country or rulers. These countries wanted to dissolve the Russian communist government. That's why Britain, France, USA, Japan attacked on the Russia. The Bolsheviks also announced the ending of the Russian Empire and permitted the various nations under it to become independent. However, gradually most of the former Tsarist Empire's nations agreed to join the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Here USSR means Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, which was set up in 1924 by the Soviet government of Russia. Here, with this began a great experiment of building a country without exploiters like feudal lords, kings, or capitalists. The USSR tried to build a society that was industrialized and modern and yet did not have inequality or exclusion of people on basis of birth, gender, language, etc. Students, we see the timeline. Debates over socialism in Russia, 1850s, 1880s, formation of the Russian Social Democratic Workers' Party in 1898, the Bloody Sunday and the Revolution 1905, 2nd March abdication of the Tsar, 24th October, Bolshevik uprising in Petrograd in the year of 1917, the Civil War in the year of 1918 to 1920, formation of Comintern in the year of 1919, beginning of collectivization in 1929. Students, next we see the women in the February Revolution. Between 1914 and 1917, 250,000 more women began working outside the home for the first time. By the outbreak of the February Revolution, close to 1 million female workers lived in Russia's cities, but were paid half the wages of men and endured substandard living conditions. Here, women workers often inspired their male co-workers. At the Lorange Telephone Factory, Morfa Vasileva almost single-handedly called a successful strike. Already that morning, in celebration of Women's Day, women workers had presented red bows to the men. Then Marfa Vasileva, a milling machine operator, stopped work and declared an impromptu strike. Here, impromptu strike means done without being planned, organized, or rehearsed. The workers on the floor were ready to support her. The foreman informed the management and sent a bread to her. She took the bread but refused to go back to work. The administrator asked her why she refused to work, and she replied, "I cannot be the only one who is satiated when others are hungry." Women's workers from another section of the factory gathered around Marfa in support, and gradually all the other women ceased working. Soon the men donned their tools as well, and the entire crowd rushed onto the street. It is a woman in the February Revolution. Rise of Stalin. After the death of Lenin in 1924, Stalin emerged as the leader of the Communist Party. Over the next decades, he established his absolute control and put an end to all opposition. He used his undisputed power to build the economy of USSR. USSR began a program of planned economic development with its 5-year plans in 1928. This pursued a twin policy of rapid industrialization and collectivization of agriculture. USSR, under the leadership of Joseph Stalin, tried to end small peasant production by forcing all small and large farmers to surrender their lands and join collective farms. These farms pooled in all the land in the village along with tools and machines and animals. Farmers worked together and the produce was divided among the members of the farms. The idea was to shift from small holding farming to large scale farming so that new techniques and machines could be used. Thousands of peasants, especially the large farmers, resisted this and had to face imprisonment, deportation, and even death. This caused a severe famine in 1929 to 1930, leading to the death of a very large number of people. After an initial period of decline, agricultural production soon rose and helped USSR to also build its industries on unprecedented scale. All industries were owned by the state, which did not allow free market and sold the industrial products to the consumers directly. However, rapid construction led to poor working conditions. In the city of Magnitogorsk, the construction of a steel plant was achieved in 3 years. Workers lived hard lives, and the result was 550 stoppages of work in the first year alone. In living quarters in the winter time, at 40 degrees below, people had to climb down from the fourth floor and dash across the street in order to go the toilets. An extended schooling system developed and arrangements were made for factory workers and peasants to enter universities. Creches were established in factories for the children of working women. Cheap public health care was provided. Model living quarters were set up for workers. The effect of all this was uneven, though, since government resources were limited. USSR achieved full employment for all its citizens and was able to improve their standard of living substantially. It also managed to universalize literacy and primary education precisely during this period. The Western world began to face the Great Depression, in which factories closed down and millions of workers lost their jobs. Thousands of peasants found the prices of their goods crossing down as demand for them collapsed due to the shutting down of factories. The USSR prided itself in escaping the impact of the Great Depression. USSR was able to escape the effect of the depression because it was not integrated with the international market. Secondly, it had a planned economy in which the state decided what has to be produced and how much. This enabled them to maintain a balance between demand and supply. The experience of the USSR inspired people all over the world who were committed to the ideals of equality and national liberation. A large number of them now became communist and cried for a communist revolution in their countries. Many of them, like M.N. Roy, Tagore, and Nehru, were inspired by it. Even though they did not agree with many aspects of communism, like suppression of opposition political parties, many others were also horrified by the violent elimination of opposition and denial of multi-party democracy and freedom in the USSR. George Orwell wrote his famous satire Animal Farm to highlight how the ideals of Russian Revolution were compromised in USSR. Students, All of you look at the picture carefully. This picture indicates a poster from USSR during World War II. It's saying more metal, more weapons. What is meant by the Great Depression? Here, worldwide economic decline triggered by a decline in demand and fall in prices. The decline in demand led to closure of factory production, which in turn meant further decline in the purchasing power of people, leading to further decline in demand. Here, stock market fell down in USA. The stock market crash signaled the beginning of the Great Depression. The Great Depression is generally defined as the period from 1929 to 1939 in which the economy plummeted and unemployment. The Great Depression effect caused massive unemployment and a decline of real income of ordinary people as well as governments across the world. It initially began with a stock market collapse in the US, but before long affected almost every country. This picture indicates unemployed youth are in this picture. They wanted to employment, they wanted to work, they search for work. Next, this picture indicates here one woman wanted to sell their 4 children because of she did not have any food, she did not have any work. That's why she wanted to selling their 4 children for their living. In the Great Depression, prices fell, demand declined, massive unemployment, decline of real income of ordinary people, stock market collapse in the US as 25% Americans were unemployed and nearly 33% in many other countries. Factories closed down, trade declined, cities became centers of decline, collapse of prices up to 60% for agricultural produce, millions of farmers and stopping of cultivation. This was the largest and most severe economic decline faced by modern economy till today. It had devastating social consequences, sharply increasing poverty, desolation, homelessness, etc. Marxist economists argued that this kind of crisis is an essential nature of capitalism and can be got rid of only with the establishment of socialism. James Keynes argued that during time of economic decline, when demand decreases, the state should invest funds and generate employment which will help people to earn money and demand goods in the market. This generation of demand through state action will help the economy revive. However, the government of capitalist countries in 1920s and 1930s were reluctant to intervene in the economy, and this intensified the crisis. Students, in this picture, his name is Roosevelt, who became the president of US, announced the New Deal, which promised relief to the victims of depression, reform of financial institutions, and steps to ensure economic recovery. The 3 R's. By understanding large public works, however, the real break came from the outbreak of war, when state expenditure and armies and armaments suddenly increased, giving a big boost to factory production and demand for farm produce. He also introduced the much needed social security system in the US. It established a permanent system of universal retirement pensions, social security, unemployment insurance, and welfare benefits for the handicapped and needy children in families without father present. It established the framework for the US welfare system. In fact, Great Britain had taken the lead in this direction even before the Depression, when the war was still on. This basically consisted of unemployment insurance and old age pension schemes at the close of the Second World War. Britain too adopted extensive social security measures like unemployment doles, sickness coverage, health schemes, child care, etc. All this went on to make the idea of welfare state, in which the state ensured a certain basic minimum dignified life for all citizens and took care of their most elementary needs like food, housing, health, child and old age care, and education. To a large extent, the state also took on the responsibility of providing employment to the able bodied citizens. In this way, the state tried to mitigate the ups and downs of market based capitalism. Students, all of you observe this picture. This picture indicates a New Yorker offers to sell his roadster after losing his money in the stock market crash. Rise of Nazism in Germany. German economy faced severe crisis after the war, as it was saddled with the burden of fleeing war damages, etc. So much so that the German government began to print currency notes on a large scale, and this resulted in unheard of inflation. It is said that people had to carry currency in carts to buy one loaf of bread. USA at this stage helped to bail out Germany by giving loans and rescheduling the payments of war damages. This helped Germany economy to stabilize by 1928. However, this was short-lived, as USA itself was deeply affected by the onset of the Depression in 1929 and could no longer help Germany. The German economy was the worst hit by the Depression by 1932. Industrial production was reduced to 40% of the 1929 level. Workers lost their jobs or were paid reduced wages. The number of unemployed touched an unprecedented 6 million. On the streets of Germany, you could see men with placards around their necks saying, "Willing to do any work." Unemployed youth played cards or simply sat at street corners or desperately queued up at the local employment exchange as jobs disappeared. The youth took to criminal activities and total despair became commonplace. From Hitler's speech, Hitler argued that it is the right of the most powerful race to conquer the world. For this earth is not allotted to anyone, nor is it presented to anyone as a gift. It is awarded by providence to people who in their hearts have the courage to conquer it, the strength to preserve it, and the industry to put it to the bluff. The primary right of this world is the right to life, so far as one possesses the strength for this. Hence, on the basis of this right, a vigorous nation will always find ways of adapting its territory to its population size. Students, this table indicates indoctrination. Nazis try to teach their children right from the beginning in only one way of thinking. Nazi ideology of racial superiority of Germany and the greatness of Hitler and hatred for Jews and other people. How was this done? All boys between the ages of 6 and 10 went through a preliminary training in Nazi ideology. At the end of the training, they had to take the following oath of loyalty to Hitler. In the presence of this blood banner, which represents our father, I swear to devote all my energies and my strength to the savior of our country, Adolf Hitler. I am willing and ready to give up my life for him, so help me God. Robert Ley, head of the German Labour Front, said, "We start when the child is 3 years old. As soon as he even starts to think, he is given a little flag to wave. Then comes to school, the Hitler Youth Military Service. But when all this is over, we do not let go of anyone. The Labour Front takes hold of them and keeps hold until they go to the grave, whether they like to it or not." This slide indicates women under Nazis. In an address to women at the Nuremberg Party rally, 8th September 1934, Hitler said, "We do not consider it correct for the woman to interfere in the world of the man in his main sphere. We consider it natural that these two worlds remain distinct. What the man gives in courage on the battlefield, the woman gives in eternal self-sacrifice, in eternal pain and suffering. Every child that women bring to the world is a battle waged for the existence of her people." Hitler at the Nuremberg Party rally 8th September 1934 also said, "The woman is the most stable element in the preservation of a folk. She has the most honoring sense of everything that is important to not let a race disappear because it is her children who would be affected by all this suffering in the first place. That is why we have integrated the women in the struggle of the racial community, just as nature and providence have determined so." Students, this picture indicates women accused of protecting Jews being publicly punished. Students, this table indicates timeline. Here, proclamation of the Weimar Republic on November 9th in the year of 1918. Hitler becomes Chancellor of Germany January 30th in the year of 1933. Germany invades Poland, beginning of the Second World War, on September 1 in the year of 1939. Germany invades the USSR in the date of June 22 in the year of 1941. Mass murder of the Jews begins June 23rd, 1941. The United States joins Second World War on December 8, 1941. Soviet troops liberate Auschwitz in January 27, 1945. Allied victory in Europe on May 8, 1945. In such a situation, Nazi Party's propaganda stirred hopes of a better future. Hitler was its unquestioned leader. In 1928, the Nazi Party got no more than 2.6% votes in the Reichstag, the German parliament. By 1932, it had become the largest party with 37% votes. Hitler was a powerful speaker. Hitler was a powerful speaker. His passion and his words moved people. He promised to build a strong nation under the injustice of the Versailles Treaty and restore the dignity of the German people. He promised employment for those looking for work and a secure future for the youth. He promised to weed out all foreign influences and resist all foreign conspiracies against Germany. Hitler devised a new style of politics. He understood the significance of rituals and spectacle in mass mobilization. Nazis held massive rallies and public meetings to demonstrate the support for Hitler and instill a sense of unity among the people. The red banners with the swastika, the Nazi salute, and the ritualized rounds of applause after the speeches were all part of this spectacle of power. This table indicates resistance. Pastor Neo Muller, a resistant fighter, observed an absence of protest and uncanny silence amongst ordinary Germans in the face of brutal and organized crimes committed against people in the Nazi Empire. He wrote movingly about this silence. First, they came for the communists. Well, I was not a communist, so I said nothing. Then they came for the social democrats. Well, I was not a social democrat, so I did nothing. Then they came for the trade unionist, but I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, but I was not a Jew, so I did little. Then when they came for me, there was no one left who could stand up for me. Here, Nazi ideology depended on majoritarian principles. Jews were merely 0.75% of population in Germany. Apart from Jews, others who opposed Nazis were also punished. On 24th March 1933, the famous Enabling Act was passed. This act established dictatorship in Germany. It gave Hitler all powers to sideline parliament and ruled by decree. All political parties and trade unions were banned except for the Nazi Party and its affiliates. The state established complete control over the economy, media, army, and judiciary. Special surveillance and security forces were created to control and order society in ways that the Nazis wanted. Apart from the already existing regular police in green uniform and the SA are the stormtroopers. These included the Gestapo. Gestapo means secret state police, the protection squads, criminal police, and the security services. It was the extra constitutional powers of these newly organized forces that gave the Nazi state its reputation as the most dreaded criminal state. People could now be detained in Gestapo torture chambers, rounded up and sent to concentration camps, deported at will, or arrested without any legal procedures. The police forces acquired powers to rule with impunity. The defeat and end. The tide of initial victories scored by German armies was turned back after the defeat of the German force in the famous Battle of Stalingrad in early 1943. Now USSR and the Allied forces closed in on Germany. Soviet forces were welcomed all over Eastern Europe as liberators from the hated Nazi rule and eventually captured Berlin, the capital of Germany. Hitler and his close associates committed suicide to avoid being captured and tried. Eventually, Germany was divided into two, with the eastern part named German Democratic Republic GDR. GDR means German Democratic Republic, and the western portion named Federal Republic of Germany FRG. FRG means Federal Republic of Germany. The GDR came under the area of influence of USSR, while the FRG came under the influence of USA. In the Far East, with the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan surrendered to USA. US armies occupied Japan, but keeping in the sentiment of Japanese allowed the Japanese emperor to continue. But it built a constitutional monarchy like in England. Japan was to be ruled by the elected government responsible to the parliament, that is, Diet. The Allies did not want to be as harsh on defeated Germany as they had been after the First World War. In fact, given the economic collapse of Germany and Japan after the war, the USA came up with a Marshall Plan to fund their economic revival. Likewise, the USSR came up with a package for the revival of East European countries. The first half of the 20th century ended with the nightmare of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and with the hopes generated by the founding of the UNO. UNO means United Nations Organization. Just as the First World War saw the end of large monarchy empires, the Second World War also ended with the ending of large colonial empires of the Britain, France, Japan, Italy and Germany. By 1950, countries like India, China, Indonesia, Vietnam, Egypt, Nigeria, etc. became independent. Britain, which was the most powerful country before the war, now became a secondary power. Two new superpowers emerged on the world scene, the USSR and the USA. The USSR, which bore the main brunt of Hitler's war and faced enormous destruction, gradually rebuilds its economy. Its victory, however, greatly enhanced its presenting in the world, and it was now joined by the entire Eastern Europe and China to form a large socialist camp. Map 1 indicates area under Japanese control 1942. Students, this cartoon indicates artist from USA paints out the treatment of Jews in Germany is much like the treatment of blacks in USA. Cartoon 2 indicates British Prime Minister advises to USA that Nazi Germany is not to be afraid of. This cartoon indicates Nazi Germany is shown as leading people to slavery. This cartoon indicates many people continue to believe the propaganda generated in Germany that were biased towards the Jews. This cartoon indicates war is expensive and deeply affects the people's lives. Two posters in USA were created with the aim of getting people to help their nation in fighting against the Nazi. Students, today homework is What challenges were faced by Germany during Great Depression, and how did Nazi rules and Hitler make use of it?